Long time no see. How you been? Welcome back to Launchpad. Sorry for the 1 year absence. I'll just say that straight up. The office where we ran the Launchpad Writers Club, the lease expired, so I haven't had space to run the club for a little while. So I've been focusing on the school programs that I run and doing some other projects, doing a bit of my own writing, that kind of thing. The Launchpad Writers Club will become a place again soon enough. But for now, I've just set up this little home studio. I thought we should get the YouTube channel up and running again. So, the first guest in what we'll call Season 2. Do you remember this guy? This guy. That's Aaron Huggins. Last time you saw him, he was a year 9. He would have been about 14 at that point, or 13 maybe. He was a member of the Launchpad Writers Club, one of my young students learning to write. He helped me interview other authors and hung out and learned about writing. Anyway, in the year since Launchpad has been offline, Aaron's been quite busy. He's become a published author at the age of 15, right? Coolest thing ever. So, young Aaron, the student becomes the master. We've got him in here today to interview him on the other side of the table, on the author side of the table. So, I couldn't be prouder to say enjoy this show. Before we start, one last thing. If you want to get a copy of Aaron's book, it's called Live a Little. His name's Aaron Huggins. You can find it on Amazon as a paperback or on Kindle as an ebook, or you can go to upandupmedia.com.au. Any of those things. You'll find some links below in the description of this episode if you're curious and want to read his book. I suppose as well, because we don't do a very good job of it in the actual interview, let me give you a quick rundown what it is. First of all, Aaron writes science fiction. He loves sci-fi. But his favourite genre ever since he was a little kid has been murder mysteries, like cozy murder mysteries, like Agatha Christie type thing. So it's a sci-fi murder mystery. And also, he's a very funny writer. He has this kind of British humour thing about him. So think of Terry Pratchett. Think of Douglas Adams with his Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Shows like Doctor Who, that kind of quirky, funny British angle. So, funny science fiction murder mystery. Live a little. Pick up a copy, support a young author, and enjoy the interview. Welcome back to sort of the Launchpad Writers Club in its new form.
Yeah, well, glad to be back in some form.
It's good, right? I was really happy when you emailed saying like you were looking forward to it starting again. This was a while ago. I think it was actually when you sent me your manuscript. In the same email, I think you said, like, when Launchpad starts up again. And I was like, oh, it's so good to think that I'm not the only one who wants it to start up again.
Yeah, emphasis on when, not if.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was always going to happen. You know, Launchpad, when it started, it was 3 years before it was like a place. Before that, it was just a
concept.
Yeah, it was like I'd go out to other schools and do it. It was a home business, I suppose. But in my head, it was always going to be like a place you could go and hang out. Like that's what Launchpad was. And it was for like a year, and now it's not again. It's like... But it will be. It will rise again like a phoenix. But for now, we've got this room, this spare room in my house. This is Aaron Huggins, everybody. Aaron Huggins, you might remember, was a member of the Launchpad Writers Club who came in to interview other authors. You interviewed, Robbie?
Yep. Did I interview Karen?
Did you do Karen as well? Yeah?
Yeah, I think
Karen McTackett. Anyway, the point is now you are here as an author.
Yep.
Not as a student. The student has become the master.
Well, sort of master. Well.
Sort of? You always were. Remember, I would defer to you to answer the other students' questions when they were like, how do you do this? And I'd be like, great question. Aaron, how would you do that? And just throw it over to you. And then I'd take notes of what you would say. I want to tell our viewers our history.
Yep.
When we met, through to publishing your book, which is on display. Is that in the shot? Yes, it is. A little. So we met 2015.
Yep.
Middle King Lake Primary School. Do you remember what you told me then?
I don't remember everything, but
The gist of it, yeah.
gist of it, I remember because you were doing the Launchpad,
Launchpad book, the Launchpad.
yeah, the compilation book,
school anthology, which is on that bookshelf behind
Tales
you.
of Middle King Lake.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So where everyone in our year level had to write a story,
Yeah.
and
make a book.
make a book. Brilliant.
I like the use of the word had to.
Because
That reminds me of the conversation we had then when I was telling you, okay, so we're going to write short stories for this anthology and we're going to make a book. And you were like, oh, okay, I'll have to stop working on my novel for a little while. And I was thinking like, that was, by the way, the very first Launchpad book, that one. So there's been about 35 of them made now. That was the very first one. So it's kind of like it's got a special place in my heart of being like the first. And right off the bat, my first feeling was, I'm meant to be like inspiring these kids to get into writing, and I'm getting in the way of this young man's writing career by making him write this short story. Put aside your novel for a little while.
I didn't end up finishing that novel.
You did?
I didn't, actually. No.
I thought you said you did for a second there.
No,
I was like, I
didn't.
need to know who done it. Because it was you asked me, by the way, how old were you then? 11?
About 11, yeah.
You're in grade 6.
Oh, I would have been 12, I think.
12?
Something like that. Yeah.
You gave me a copy of the first 5 chapters or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And I say copy, but it was handwritten. It was a handwritten.
Yeah, the
pages.
only copy.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the copy. Yeah, and I said to Catherine, your teacher, your librarian.
Yep.
I go, did he write this? Because I thought you'd just like hand copied out like an Agatha Christie book or something. Because it was like this Victorian era feeling murder mystery.
Yep.
And yeah, it was that good that I was like, he can't have written that. Like, yeah. But no, she assured me. She's like, no, Aaron is a fantastic writer.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I've still got that somewhere.
Really?
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't know where. I'd have to find it.
What was it? It was a murder mystery, and it was like a scientist who had discovered something.
Yeah, something like some sort of gas or something.
Right.
And then someone else used it to like knock him out so they could steal the formula or something.
Right.
I can't remember all the details. It was a while ago, but
yeah.
I think that was the general gist
But
of it.
you had me hooked in, and I'm like, 5 chapters. I needed to know who done it, and then there was no ending.
I didn't think I knew actually how it would end at that point.
Right. Which is, you told me this actually, which I thought was really interesting on the subject, just to swap subject of like writing a murder mystery, because you love murder mysteries, right? Like that's one of your favorite genres.
Yep.
And your new book it's a science fiction murder mystery. And the murder mystery aspect of it is really interesting to me because whenever I try to write a mystery, I don't know how to present the clues and the misinformation clues, like the red herrings, in the right way so that they don't guess what's going on. Like, I just think I'd give it away. I'd make it too obvious. And so I asked you, how do you structure a murder mystery so that you keep people guessing but without guessing correctly? And that's what you told me. You said you don't know how it ends.
I didn't know, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did knew how it ended for about the last half of writing it, but when I started it and when I set up all of the mysteries that I had to answer, I realised that I'd created more questions than I had answers to.
Right.
And so I kind of had to find those answers before I continued, and then that's why it is what it is at the moment. Just that might be how it worked, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know
I
what was
wonder
going to
how
happen.
common that is with mystery writers to do it that way. Do you think that's
Yeah,
how they do it?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Hey, you found a way that works for you, so like do that. So with Live a Little, how far into it were you when you figured out the ending?
Just under half.
Yeah,
Or
right.
something like that.
So they're looking for clues and stuff. And you are too, in a way, as the writer. You're like
Yeah.
figuring it out too.
Yeah. I
That's
felt
so
like a
cool.
character kind of thing
That's
because I
awesome.
was working it out at the same time as them.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And it makes so much sense because, like, if the author doesn't even know, then there's a good chance that the best that a reader can do is guess, but they're not going to figure it out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm reading the Brothers Karamazov right now, Dostoevsky, which is a murder mystery, sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
But the structure is so dumb because it's like, there's the murder, and there's the immediate, like, prime suspect. It's never the prime suspect, right?
Yeah.
But then after, like, you're like, oh my God, they murdered that person. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. This other person fits the bill. And then you think you've figured it out, like, they've snuck in this other guy. But then it's never that person. That's like the first red herring who you meant to think you've figured it out. And then there's a big twist that comes in and, like, it blows you away.
Yeah. I like using red herrings as the culprit sometimes.
Yeah.
I didn't do it in Live a Little, but I like the concept of using someone who's so obviously the murderer that they can't be, and then surprise they are, kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah.
But I know that's been done before, so
That's more like even like the prime suspect, even.
yeah,
Like the first person where you think they did it. And then you've got the red herring where it's like, ooh, I think they're trying to sneak this person in, but they want you to figure that out. And then there's something else unexpected that happens.
Yeah.
The Brothers Karamazov, it's the second person. So about 10 minutes after the murder, you're like, oh, wait a minute, it might have been that guy. And then 500 pages later, you're like, yes. Confirmed. So as a murder mystery, it's just like structurally very weak, but it is 150 years old, so yeah. But anyway, I'm in the last pages of that book now with my my podcast, the Hemingway List.
Oh yeah.
Working our way through all the books Hemingway recommended, and I must say this Brothers Karamazov book, it's extremely popular. It's in like the top 10 books ever.
Oh right.
I've
never heard of it.
I wouldn't recommend it. Oh, you never heard of it? You know Dostoevsky.
Yeah, I know the name, but I don't know
Russian
the
guys. Yeah, the Russian masters.
Yeah.
I want to grab down the book, the King Lake book,
Oh, yeah.
and show it off. So, let's talk now. You guys can't hear me. Here it is, 2015. Tales from Middle King Lake. So this isn't where your murder mystery was. This is when I asked you to write a short story and I interrupted your writing career. This is the short story you wrote. Let me find it here. Huggins, A.J. Huggins, Forgotten Memories. Do you remember that?
Yep, I remember that.
You probably got a copy of that at home, do you?
Yep, I do. Dragons and stuff. Yep.
Dragons and stuff. It was good. It was cool. It was like a little fantasy. I don't know. It was a bit like psychedelic.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. I remember there's like a pier or something and some stuff.
I don't really remember everything that happens in it.
I'm throwing back
But
2,000 short stories in my head to when I read yours.
Yep.
Very
But
cool.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
a little historical artifact there.
Yeah, well, that was the sort of book that I read most and read most, and is fantasy. But then my book is neither. It's not fantasy. It's
sci-fi.
Sci-fi murder mystery.
Yep. And I think you're a bit of a humorist, although you kind of don't say you try to do that, but I think your books are really funny. Like that is. I was speaking to the Hillsville bookshop.
Oh yeah. Yep.
What are they called?
Verso.
Yep. I was on the phone to him yesterday, and I was asking him, because they've got copies of your book. Your grandma went and repped you to that bookshop. Did you know that?
Yep.
That's so cool. And so they've got your book on the shelves, and I asked them where they put it, and they said it's in YA. And I asked them, I said, maybe you should put it in the sci-fi section, like next to Douglas Adams and in that kind of space. So I think that's where it belongs. I think the bookshops, because you are a young adult, you're a teenager, they think the book is specifically for teenagers.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. I think it's more just like, it's good sci-fi with funniness. and humour and a murder mystery. It's a hard book to place, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's got so many kind of genres
Yeah.
or bits of genres introduced into it.
Because you wouldn't put it in the mystery section because of the sci-fi element.
Yeah.
But it is as much of a mystery book as a sci-fi book.
Yeah.
You know, like structurally it's a murder mystery. It's just set in a sci-fi place.
Yeah, that was my plan. They have to put it in both sections.
Put it everywhere. Teen
Yep.
section, the mystery, sci-fi, and the humour section.
Yeah,
There
that
you
way
go.
if people don't notice it the first time, they'll go, hey, that looks familiar. Just a minute ago, I saw it.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere, this book.
Yeah.
You know where they should put it is just on the front counter with a big display. As like an impulse buy.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
that would be nice.
Yeah, they've got displays up in Verso of your
Mm.
book. And she said on the phone, would you like me to put up a bigger display? I'm like, yes.
No, make it small. No,
Take it down. So we met in 2015 at the book launch party for this. You came dressed in a costume as what you wanted to be when you grew up, which was your author costume.
Yeah, and you're never going to let me forget it.
Never.
Ever.
I'm going to superimpose a photo of it. Yeah. It was brilliant. No, but it's just so cool that like then you knew you wanted to be an author. And I had nothing to do with that. Like as much as we've done throughout our friendship to help that come about, it's like you were going to be an author. If you never met me, you would have been an author. So the next thing you did was a year later, I started the Launchpad after school group. You
Yep.
were one of the first people to sign up for that. Came along every week and that was good times. Working
Was,
on the
definitely.
Doctor Who scripts.
Yep.
You know, Doctor Who, I think, that's your favourite show, right? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see the influence with Doctor Who, like with that humour and the kind of quirky sci-fi thing. Yeah. Do you reckon that's the case?
I wouldn't know, actually.
Really?
But, like, yeah, because
Well,
none of it was really intentional, like my actual style.
Mm.
Because I just wrote me kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier for other people to kind of pick what your books remind them of rather than yourself.
Okay.
Like, they're better at that.
Well, where does the sci-fi influence come from? Is that a Doctor Who influence
Yeah,
or is it
yeah.
something else?
Well,
Or-
yeah, Doctor Who helped me get into sci-fi because I used to be terrified of aliens and wanted nothing to do with them. But then I watched Doctor Who and then I started liking aliens and now I've written a book about them. So,
Yeah, right. So Doctor Who taught you that aliens aren't so bad.
yep.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, and then what else sci-fi wise? What took you further down that road? Douglas Adams.
Yeah, Douglas Adams. Not for a while after that though. Yeah, it's hard to say really. I can't really think of. I haven't actually watched that many sci-fi films because I haven't had access to them, but I would. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sci-fi is pretty impossible to get away from these days.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, if you
We're
say,
nearly in it.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. But your things like even your Marvel films are mostly sci-fi these days. With like it's like explosive. It's like your Star Wars style sci-fi.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not your Star Trek, but or your hard sci-fi. Do you read any hard sci-fi like The Martian or anything like that?
I've had it recommended to me,
It's really
but
good.
I haven't read it
It's
yet.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Right. And now, if I'm correct, I'm very proud to say that I've started you on a Terry Pratchett binge.
Yep. I can't stop.
Yeah. Oh, really? You told me you were going to stop at 12. Did you stop at 12?
I haven't bought one in a while,
Yeah.
but
You sound like a recovering junkie or something. Like,
yeah.
I'm still going to my meetings. I haven't caved yet.
Yeah.
One day at a time, right?
But yeah, I've still read just 11, but that will change.
So you've read 11,
Yeah, I've got 11.
and you told me you were planning to stop at 12.
Yeah, I
Are
probably
you
won't.
counting Good Omens?
No, I'm not.
See? Addict.
It's
Making excuses.
it's half Terry Pratchett. It doesn't count.
Yeah, that was your first one, right? Good Omens.
Yeah.
The one I gave you in the the Launchpad Christmas gift. Was that right?
Yeah.
That's right.
I must admit, I didn't get into that the first time as much, but then the second time, I absolutely loved it.
Oh, you read it twice?
Yeah. I don't think I even finished it the first time, but
Right.
then I read it again, and it's one of my favorite books.
Terry Pratchett's writing doesn't really do you any favors. Like, it's like he doesn't care if you read it or not.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah, no, I do get that
He doesn't
impression.
lead you through the book. He just kind of presents it. And if your attention wanes, it's kind of on you.
Yeah.
But when you do pay attention, it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing how he does that in his writing.
Who knows how he does it?
In my writing, I'm like begging you to pay attention at all times. Like, how can I make this more like engaging? Whereas his is just like, engage or don't. But if you do, it'll be awesome.
And people do.
Yeah. But when I'm reading it, I'll, if I'm tired or whatever, I'll be like, oh man, I didn't pay attention to that whole last page. Like, it just washed over me. So it doesn't grab you. But then if you go back and reread it, you're like, oh man, this is really funny and like good. Yeah. But he just doesn't like spoon feed you everything, which I think, is probably why with the first reading of Good Omens, it can sometimes it doesn't grab you. Yeah. But when you pay attention, it's really, really rewarding.
Yeah, I found it a bit too weird the first time. And then the second time I found it weirder, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's quirky. So, yeah, it's meant to be like a bit camp, I suppose. Yeah. Have you seen the new show?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think? Yeah,
I've seen it. I liked it. It was a pretty accurate representation. They did change a few things, put some things that weren't in there, but I don't think they really left out anything.
Well, do you know what I think? This is a pretty harsh criticism, but I don't think I laughed. I don't think I got a laugh in that whole series.
You reckon? I laughed a lot.
The book was hilarious. Like, I laughed a lot, but I think a lot of the humour came from the narration, whereas in the show, the humour had to sit in the dialogue. Yeah.
I mean, you do have the narration from
the voiceover. Yeah.
Which is, some of that is pretty much word for word from the book. But, I do see what you mean.
I mean, it was funny. It was funny, but it wasn't like laugh out loud. It wasn't as funny as the book, I found. I thought,
Yeah, this is why I think...
They had to translate the humour from book humour to dialogue and...
Yeah, because it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's very different.
I think that it would not work if they tried to adapt any Discworld books to like a... They have with very low budget.
Yeah, I've seen them on YouTube.
Yeah, but like if they were to do a proper
I'd love them to do a good job of it.
Thing. They wouldn't, I don't think,
so
because his humour is like you said in the narration usually, like not in the dialogue. Well, it is in the dialogue.
Well, they did a decent job with Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
The film?
No.
Actually, I haven't read the book, so we're on opposite sides of the thing here. But that movie was funny.
It's got Martin Freeman in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I can't remember who else. Other people in costumes.
Yeah.
But it was funny. But maybe not as funny as the books. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It probably also, the unexpectedness is lost when, like with Good Omens. I'd already read it, so the absurdities were kind of already expected.
Yeah.
That last scene, remind me, that last scene with the whole trial, where they go on trial, is that in the book?
No, it wasn't.
I didn't think so. Yeah, I don't remember this.
I do think that ending was better. I preferred that ending to the ending in the book, because in the book, it just sort of, ended. Right. But then with that, it like ended with a proper...
a bit of closure.
It ended better. Yeah. If there was one thing that did really, really right, then it was
it wrapped up those two characters, the devil and the angel.
Yeah.
The demon and the angel. Their character arcs wrapped a little neatly.
Yeah.
More neatly. With those trials and them getting off the hook and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. No, I'm so glad they made it. I think my expectations were just too high, because it's like maybe my favourite book or one of my favourite books. So
yeah, same.
It's not fair to go into any movie or show based on like something that you're so fond of, a book you're so fond of, because you want it to be as good, and it's never going to be.
Nah, yeah.
All right, so Then you joined my after-school group.
Yep.
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 I got you on Terry Pratchett binge, which is one of my proudest accomplishments. And then that ended when my lease on that office ended. So we all dearly miss our after-school group.
Mm.
But in the background, you were still working away at something. I don't even think I knew you were writing this novel.
No, I don't know if I told you.
Because you'd been planning novels at Launchpad with me. We'd been doing our whiteboard sessions.
Yeah, none of them ever really.
There was a really cool one about a band going on an intergalactic tour.
Yeah, I've still got the plans for that. I could
cool.
revisit it in future.
Yeah, or you could wrap it into your Rastus Malco world.
Indeed, I could. Yeah. Yep.
Have them solve a murder in a music festival.
Yeah.
You know the idea I loved in that, which was the idea of like the race that could smell the same way that we could see.
Yeah.
I think I
was
might
it?
have come up with that actually.
Was it the same way that we see, or was it the same way that we hear? It was something.
Oh, here, yeah.
Was
it
it?
was a continual. It wasn't like you breathe in and smell. It was like a continual
was
flow,
like-
so that they could make music, which was like a
Oh yeah, they smell music.
yeah. That was really cool.
I called them reptids
Really?
actually, and
No
that is the species that worked its way into Live a Little.
No kidding.
Except they can't smell sounds. They hear them like
Yeah.
everyone else.
Right. Yeah. What's here's a question you probably never thought of. What is Rastus Malchior, your reptid detective? What's his primary sense?
Oh, that's a good question.
Humans is sight, but humans are in like a 0.1% of the animal kingdom, which the primary sense isn't smell.
Hmm. I feel like I've heard somewhere that lizards have
Hear?
like good hearing, so in that case, that would probably be his primary sense.
Do they? Maybe they do.
I could
That's
be
rare
completely
too.
wrong.
That's like bats, dolphins.
Yeah, I'm probably
Yeah.
wrong, but I just can't imagine lizards like having a strong sense of smell for some reason. They just don't seem like,
They do something when they flick their tongue is a sensory thing.
right?
Yeah.
So feel? I don't know.
No, it's like they smell
Hmm?
with their tongue kind of thing, or something like that. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I don't know if they smell with their tongue, but they do that as it's like to sense something. Yeah. Who knows?
Right.
We'll have to look that up. But yeah, so humans, sight, very rare. Eagles have sight as their primary sense.
Yeah.
And like some birds, and that's about it. If hearing is your primary sense, you develop sonar
Mm.
or radar, like bats or dolphins. And everything else is smell. They smell their way
Oh,
through
right.
life. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Mm. Interesting. I think
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Why did I bring that up? Let's talk about Rastus. Malchior. Melchior.
Yeah,
I always say that.
Melchior. Yeah.
Melchior.
Yep.
Yeah. Your lead detective. So he's a reptid.
Yep.
What's his deal with his sitting and thinking thing?
It's a thing that his race, like as a whole, do. They're very, very thoughtful. They do that with like normal problems, or even if they don't have a problem, they're very philosophical. They're the sort that would just sit and think. And he's kind of like turned that to his advantage because he can do that sort of thinking trance state kind of thing when he's like, and he can use that to solve mysteries.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That reminds me, just linking those two conversations, there's a book called Golem 14, which is about an AI supercomputer which becomes extremely smart. It's by Stanislaw Lem. And the computer talks about how it doesn't have senses and that its primary sense is abstraction. So it uses like abstract thought, which is what that is, like being philosophical or thinking through things is like you're using your abstract thoughts to like project into an artificial kind of reality and experience that reality and then bring back things, abstracting. Maybe that's his primary sense, his ability to think in the abstract.
Yeah.
Much like Golem 14. That's a mind spin. That book, Golem 14, that author, have you heard of Philip K. Dick?
Yes.
Very, very famous sci-fi writer. His contemporary Stanislaw Lem was so good at writing sci-fi that in the later years of Philip K. Dick's life, he became obsessed with Stanislaw Lem and developed this conspiracy theory that he was more than one person because his sci-fi was so in-depth and diverse that no one man could write that well.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it drove him crazy. In the later years of his life, he went crazy about Stanislaw Lem.
Right.
Right. So if there's one takeaway from that, you should read some Stanislaw Lem because it's really, really good. I wonder if I've got any I can give you. Oh, let's start you down a new path. That's exciting. Cool. All right. Then I'm going to go back to our timeline.
Yep.
You did this book 2015. 2017, you joined Launchpad.
2017?
18? 18.
Yeah, that would have been... No, 2000... Was it in 2016 or not yet? I can't remember.
I think it was 17.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I would have been in year 8.
It was like mid 17 through to mid 18. Maybe. Oh, man. It was the other way around.
It was a time.
It was a time, yeah.
Yes.
And then the next thing that happened is a little while after the end of Launchpad After School, you'd been working in the background and you sent me an email saying, I just finished a novel. Do you want to check it out?
Yeah.
And I said, hell yeah, I do. And that was the manuscript for Live a Little, which was, for first draft manuscripts, pretty pristine. Like, not much changed between what you sent me that day and what's in that book. Just tinkering, editing, typos, a couple of little tweaks here and there.
Yep.
Was that your first draft?
Yeah, it was my first draft. I might have edited like chapters after I've finished them, but not proper edits. So yeah,
it was so clean. You've just got a knack for you just write clean. Some writers just write clean, you know, like they don't have to go back and change much. It's a good gift. And so, if I rewind my timeline back to 2015, behind Launchpad there's a publishing label called Up and Up Media, which is the logo sitting there on the back of the book, which I started that for tax purposes to release my first novel because, you know, I was like, oh, this is a small business, I suppose. I'm going to release my own novel. Might as well make a little brand. And I did that back in 2012 and then just kind of had it. And I'm like, I should do something with that one day. But I didn't want to start a self-publishing label. I didn't want it to be self-publishing. So I didn't want it to be, I didn't want anyone to be able to pay me to have their book published. So I'm like, if I'm going to publish books through this, it's ones that I've chosen because they're awesome and because I also feel like I can do something to help those people. So those were the two kind of prerequisites. And then what I wanted it to be is like, eventually if you see an Up and Up Media book, you know it's a book that at least I liked, you know, that I thought would fit in this group of books. It wasn't just random books. So there's some kind of quality control. I had a few people offer me books and say, will you publish this? And I was like, it is awesome, I would, but I can't really do anything with it that you couldn't do yourself.
Yeah, right.
But with yours, the reason it ticked that box as well is because of our story through Launchpad. It's like, well, I'm going to be going to all these schools and talking to all these kids, you know, thousands of kids over the next couple of years. And that's an opportunity for me to say, like, look at this guy who was a Launchpad student and now is a published author. And so I would be able to promote you directly into every school that I visit, which I've been doing, by the way. Doncaster Primary School just bought 5 copies of your book a couple of weeks ago. And another one, which was the other one? Hampton Park bought 2. Yeah, you're in school libraries. Yeah, you're in a few school libraries around the place.
Great.
Yeah, and that'll continue, you know, as I keep visiting schools. And what was my point there? Yeah, so I felt like I could help you market your book, and it was a good book that I would be proud to have on the lineup. And so I became your publisher, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And you became the first novel to be published through Up and Up Media. So previously it was all anthologies of other indie authors, and now I was always looking for a novel. So you're the first first signed author, and here we are.
Yep.
Which I just think is So cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And we've done events. We've done promo things. We went to, what was it, Supernova.
Yep.
Readings
Supernova.
had us in to do that in-store, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Been on the radio. I hear you've got another radio thing potentially coming up.
Yeah, potentially, but
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
Fingers
ABC Radio, that's
Yeah.
big.
That's awesome. Who was
Yeah.
it?
John Fain.
John Fain.
Yeah.
If that happens, that's brilliant.
We'll get quite a few sales out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to make sure I get you in more bookshops around Melbourne too in the run up to that, because
Mm.
at the moment you're in readings and that's it out in
Yeah.
Melbourne.
Catherine James has
Yeah.
suggested some bookshops in like Eltham and Hurstbridge, but we haven't checked them out yet. We were going to.
Yeah, they're all.
But-
Yeah, that's kind of me dropping the ball. But the good thing with this is like it's more like a slow build with very small publishing, where every bookshop we get it into, we make a bit of an establishment with that shop, rather than all at once. You kind of do them one at a time and build a relationship each way.
Mm.
Because the thing that happens is, if you go all at once, then you go back to all those shops and they've all sold like one copy each. Whereas with my first book, this is what I did. The one shop where I knew someone who read the book and liked it, they sold like 40 copies, because someone there was like, oh, like, I like your books. I like this book. I'll recommend it.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a relationship going on with that, like, that was like the manager of the shop.
That does definitely help.
Massively.
Yeah.
It was about 40 books or something like that, as compared to every one of the other shops which sold one or two.
Mm.
So it's like,
Just because no one like knew or like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was more just popping in. Will you put this on your shelves? Yes, we will. Cool. But they didn't know who I was or what my story was. But then like Verso, like we took the time to let them know who you are, and they've put posters up and they get behind it a bit, and
Yeah.
that's what you want.
Yeah. That's good.
What other events have we got lined up? Do we have anything? We should do some. You know, we should get you in some like book clubs or something.
Yeah. I've got a few library events coming up in July, August.
Cool.
Kind of thing.
Perfect.
Just Kinglake Library, Whittlesea, Yay,
Nice.
Hillsville, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Hillsville.
Great.
But yeah, that'd be good. Library events.
Yep. Cool. I have to be sure to come along to those. Be there in the audience, cheering, making you seem like a rock star. All right. What else did I want to ask you? What are you working on?
Well, until recently.
Other than VCE, of course, which is your priority.
Yeah, well, one subject of VCE.
Oh, you're in year 10?
Yeah, I'm in year
I'm
10.
sorry, I thought you were in year
But
11.
I am doing a VCE subject.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Which is,
English literature.
of course it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, until recently I've been working on a sequel to Live a Little, but I have not scrapped it exactly, but stopped it. And I'm going to start again with a completely different idea.
Wow.
But keeping the same characters, introducing the new ones in the same way as I did, kind of thing, in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But this time I've planned it out and it works much better and I'm much more happy with it. Because
Good.
kind of right from the start, I wasn't that happy with book 2, or as happy as I was with the first one.
Mm.
And I just wasn't feeling it. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't, it was a sequel to that, but it wasn't the sequel to that it needed.
Okay.
It needed something different. And I'm pretty confident that the idea that I'm using instead will be good. Like,
It'll be good.
yeah. It'll be,
That's
Yeah.
so impressive that how much had you written of this second book before you scrapped it?
oh, more than half.
That's pretty impressive that
Yeah.
you were able to do that, because you've got that, what's that thing called? It's like, loss, investment loss, whatever it's called.
Something.
Something that's that theory where, like, once you've invested in something, you don't want to give up because of the time you've spent on it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
some word for that. I can't think of it at the moment. But you were able to overcome that and be like, no, the best thing to do is start again, which is so hard to do. But you did it, which is so impressive to make that call. I think I would just, latch onto it and be like, no, I'll fix it. It'll be fine. All this
Yeah.
work, I can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Wow. So what the problem was it? So because this is a series, but each one is a mystery.
Yeah.
And so you've got the story arc of the mystery and then the story arc of the series. And which one of those was it that wasn't fitting well with the first book?
Well, when I started writing the second one, I hadn't planned the story arc that I've got now for the whole series, about 4 books. I'm really happy with the story arc. Like, I'm really excited to show people what's going to happen overall.
Yeah.
And the second book just wasn't like introducing any story arc or anything.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't the only problem too. I wasn't really feeling the actual mystery. I felt it was kind of not boring as such, but you know how some detective shows, they're great at the start and then they start getting into a bit of a formula and they get bogged down and it just seems like the same episode over and over.
Yeah.
I was feeling that the second book in this series was already doing that.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't the same as the first one. It just seemed like there was nothing. It was lacking something that the first book had.
I get you. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I did keep 2 characters that I was very happy with. And that was a robot butler called Murgadroid,
Cool.
who I'm looking forward to introducing to people.
Can't wait to meet him.
Yeah, he's very cynical.
Yeah.
Yep. And then there's another inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking over from the one in the first book, but it's because it's set on a different
place
planet.
of that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And our main 3, our trio, Rastus, Klain, and
Galleon.
Galleon.
Yep.
They're in it?
Yep,
Cool.
they're in it.
Cool. Awesome. I'm a sucker for just like the dream team kind of thing going on, you know. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Like, I just want to
Yeah.
see the team back together again.
Yeah.
So that's great, yeah. Because at the end of the first one, it's not entirely clear, like, are these guys still going to be friends after this?
Yeah,
Like,
they all go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you reckon 4 books in this
Yeah,
arc?
I had planned for 5, but 4 seems like a better number because it means I won't have fillers. I think with 5, like book 3 or something, will end up being a filler.
Yeah.
But now, because I'm using book 3 as book 2. The idea I had for book 3 as book 2.
Okay.
Like they're all important, each installment,
Mm.
and they're not going to feel like fillers.
Can you tell us anything about book 2?
Yep.
Well, what is now book 2, without, spoilers, obviously.
Well, it's set in part on it's like a theatre ship in
Cool.
space, like a spaceship,
Yeah.
but for theatre.
Right.
And the owner of this ship invites all these prominent people on board, like CEOs of companies
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Melchior, because he's a prominent.
Oh, he's famous now.
He's famous
yeah.
now. Yep. And so he's on there, out in space somewhere, and then a murder happens. But meanwhile, back on a planet, the rest of the team, Galleon, Klain, and the new inspector, they're solving other mysteries
Hmm.
until he gets back, and then from then on they
Cool.
They
That's a
solve it.
great setting. Like a space cruise liner
Yep.
with a theatre show going on.
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of Fifth Element with the opera. Have you seen Fifth Element?
I don't think so.
Oh, really? Fifth
No,
Element's
I'm
great,
yeah.
He goes on essentially like a cruise liner in space, and there's like this opera that
Yeah.
he attends on the cruise ship. It's giving me that kind of vibe, which is awesome.
Cool.
I'm planning a book set on a cruise ship, not in space.
Ah, yes,
in
I
the
think
ocean.
I think you've told me about this one
Yeah,
before. Yeah.
The double retirees having to do their thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be fun. I won't say any more about that.
Sounds
But,
pretty fun though.
Yeah. I want to write something funny.
Yeah.
Is what's up, especially like after reading Terry Pratchett and your books. I'd just been like, man, why don't I do funny writing ever? So I really want to write something silly.
Mm.
I think silly is underrated.
Yeah, definitely.
And okay, so you're working on book 2.
Yep.
And you told me about some short stories too.
Yeah, I'm working on something that will hopefully eventually be a compilation book with 10 or 12 short stories in it. They're all set in the future on Earth, different futures or different stages in the future. And they all focus around a certain concept or futuristic like idea or invention or something that could possibly go wrong.
So do they all focus on the same concept going wrong in different ways, or
No, they're
concept?
different concepts in each one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Black Mirror meets iRobot kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, I get you. Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
12 short stories and a sci-fi anthology.
Yep.
I look forward to it. Wow. So short stories are good, aren't they? Because you
definitely.
can muck around a bit in them.
Yep.
Do you
And I haven't done short stories really before. Well, I did that one.
This
So,
one, yes.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
But before this compilation, I haven't really done them, and I don't know why I haven't. They're
Wow. I mean,
they're
good,
fun. They're good.
Training tools too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever feel this way, but sometimes I'll think I've got like a weakness in my writing, like I'll be whatever it is, like I'm not doing this one thing very well. So I'll write a short story to like hammer in new ways to try to remedy that.
Yeah. Yep.
Like introducing characters. I realized that when I introduced characters, I wasn't giving the reader a good. I didn't want to stop and describe the character. But I realised that I wasn't giving the readers a good picture of who they were quickly, but like by sneaking in descriptors. So I wrote a short story with all these different characters and tried to describe them, but without describing them. So just like use their voice as a way, so like just by the way they speak, you can guess what kind of a person they are, or by context, or by the way they talk about each other, or these kinds of things. But the narrator never actually describes them. And so I wrote a short story just to muck around with that, and it's like I kept that short story. And then really early on, I was really I wasn't confident to write female characters because I was just like, I don't know what's in the head of a female kind of thing. So I was just like kind of like, oh, I hope I'm doing this right. And so I wrote a short story with just like heaps of different female characters just to try different like techniques, I suppose, of like how to do that.
Was this before Duet for Swans?
Yeah,
because you have got some quite a presence of female characters. You've got Grace and you've got the witch. She's
it was actually in the lead up to writing from Grace, because Grace is sort of like the narrator of Duet for Swans, and so it was in the lead up to that. And then I wrote Duet for Swans, and then I gave it to 5 beta readers who were all women, and were like, would a girl say these things that she's saying? Like, is it correct? And they came back with notes like, I would have never said that. That's a weird thing, like, and I'm like, cool, noted. Get rid of that, change that. And I don't know. It's that old trope of like, guys don't know how women think sort of thing. I suppose it's true to a degree. Well, at least for me at least. But short stories, it's just a good training grounds to try things. But I find that every time I do, I end up keeping the short stories that I write.
Yeah, well, how this compilation came about was because I had too many science fiction ideas, had too many concepts, and I was like, I'm not going to write all of these. Right. Or if I do, they'll be in the archive for ages and ages and ages.
So you distill them down to a short story.
I still want to use them, but in short story form, I can always like come back to that kind of thing, but in like a different take on the concept kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because if you've got the one story about it, then you've got the one concept, you've got the one storyline, you've got the same characters and the same take on that particular concept.
Yeah.
But with short stories, if I was ever to do like another compilation, then I could revisit some of those worlds and some of those concepts with new ideas.
So many films, like Black Mirror episodes and movies and stuff, are based on sci-fi short stories. Like iRobot is a short story by Isaac Asimov.
Oh, multiple short stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It's a compilation. Yeah. No, but a lot of films they were just a short story and then they expanded out into a film.
Mm.
I think probably a lot of sci-fi authors have the same thing. They've got too many ideas for stories and
Yeah.
not enough time to turn them all into novels.
Yep.
That's awesome. I look forward to that. Do you find that you are experimenting stylistically or with new techniques or anything in these short stories?
Yeah, these short stories are very different from Live a Little, because there's less of that. Some of them are, because they go deeper and more, they're designed to make the reader think. So because they're deeper, there's less, they're unintentionally kind of like darker.
Yeah.
And I haven't really written dark before, but it's working for me. Like,
yeah, right.
because I haven't.
I always
It's
think of
interesting.
your writing is very light and kind of quirky and funny. And,
Yeah, it's fun to write dark.
It can be. Yeah. It can be a really cool
Not
place
all of
to
them.
explore.
Yeah, not all of the short stories are dark, but there's a couple
That's great.
that are. So
I think
Yeah.
with short stories, you're uninhibited to a large degree because there's the factor of it only takes a couple of hours. So if it's too dark or if it's too experimental or that experiment didn't necessarily work out or whatever, it doesn't matter. It only took you a few hours, so you can just scrap it. So when you're writing it with that mindset, you're not afraid to go down those dark paths or to make it a bit weird or to experiment a bit because you wouldn't experiment like that in a novel because you don't want to spend a year working on something only to be like, oh, that didn't work out. Scrap.
Yeah.
But with a short story, you can do that. So I think short stories are always uninhibited writing,
Yeah.
which has a degree of honesty to it, which people resonate with.
Yeah, especially if it's a compilation, because if there's one, dud kind of thing, then at least there's more that.
True. Yeah. The other ones can kind of uphold the duds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, my short stories never have like resolved endings. They always just kind of like happen.
Right. Yeah.
And on their own, it can be a bit like unfulfilling. But in a compilation, they all support each other to have some kind of like central theme where they all make sense of one another.
Right.
Which I think is an interesting byproduct. And not
Yeah,
that I
that's
do that
cool.
on purpose, but just I suppose I'm always circling around at any given point like a similar theme with each of them. Yeah. The theme of all my short stories recently have been, because the novel I'm working on is a guy kind of tipping over the tipping point of sanity just by the events in his life. He's so stressed out that he becomes like obsessed with this mystery and it drives him mad. And so like all the short stories have been dealing with that theme of like hitting that tipping point of like crazy people aren't just crazy people, like something
There's a reason,
turned them that way, and it's like what was that trajectory? And so I was interested in that.
Yeah, crazy people are really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're just people.
Yeah.
And they still are, but at a certain point they weren't crazy people.
Yep.
But was it a snap, or was it a slow decline, or a spiraling out of control, or was it perpetuated by stress or drugs or tragedy, or what was it? And I don't know, it's a really interesting place to explore. So all my short stories are themed around that. They're all so different, but when you tie them all together, it's like an exploration of that theme, which I think is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. But it doesn't make you feel particularly sane to read them or to write them. You're looking at all the different ways a person can go crazy. And then you're like,
options.
am I still sane? Yeah, your options. Yeah, choose one. But no, I don't know. I'll release that in a similar way, I think, as a little anthology of short stories to maybe go along with the novel. Very cool. What's next for you then?
What's next besides those
Yeah.
things?
Well, which of those two things would you think you'll finish first, by the way? We don't
Well,
know.
I've barely started the new book too. Some advice that one of the authors at Supernova gave me. Can't remember. Matt J. Pike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He gave me some advice that was, if you're doing a series, sometimes it's good to like take a break after you write the first book, write something else, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
which is good because it kind of shows readers like what you can do, like that you're just not limited to that one
Yeah.
thing, and also like
No, I get you. I'm doing exactly the same with UFO Swans, which I modelled on Christopher Nolan, where he did Batman Begins, then Inception, then Batman 2,
yeah.
then Interstellar, and then Batman 3. So he had like an in-between project.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd do the same thing with the UFO Swans series. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good because if the second book in a series is rarely what makes the first one big. Like if you're wanting a series to go big and the first book doesn't do that, it's best not to like try to up the first book in like popularity with the second book.
Okay.
If you try something different, I reckon, then it like lets people know what you can do, and then there's a longer gap between the first and second, and that just makes them want more even more.
Right, yeah. And especially with like the marketing strategy behind your book, you know, going through a small indie press and doing it like a kind of, you know, the garage band, getting out there and doing it ourselves sort of thing. It's that slow ramp up. It's not in every shop all around the world all at once. It's like you build it. And so you need a bit more time to naturally build up readers of the first book who will want the second one.
Yep.
Saying that, having a second book out is good because you can do like, then you've got two books.
Yeah.
You can do package deals, or like promoting one will promote the other, and you can, you can do that. But no, it's a slow build.
Yeah. So in answer to your question, I don't know which one will be finished first.
Oh, that was the question. I was like, what was the question again?
Yeah. But I might aim to get them done at the same time as each other, roughly, because
why not?
That might be a good plan.
Short stories can be a really good marketing tool as well, because if you've got 12 stories, you know, the anthology is awesome, but then you can also send them out individually to different projects and use those as a way to promote the novel.
Yep.
Brilliant. Awesome. Well, I don't know. I'm excited. This video is the first video to go up on the Launchpad YouTube channel in like over a year.
Over a year?
Well, just since I didn't have the office, I kind of put it on the back burner, and I've still been doing the Launchpad business has just been upheld by the school program really at the moment. It's going to schools, and I'm doing, do you know, more students are doing Launchpad this year than in the first 3 years combined.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the first 3 years combined was 1,600 kids. So there's a lot of kids doing Launchpad this year. So that is big. Busy.
Wow.
Just making my excuses for the people who have been like, where's the videos? But I don't want this video to be just a one-off random video. So I want to start putting some more content on Launchpad. So I might see if I can rope in some other authors to come and do some interviews. And if you're available, I'll get you to come in and co-host with me, and we'll get Launchpad doing its thing again. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Sounds cool.
All right. I might wrap it up there. It's been a good talk. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you very soon at your next event.